guys, welcome back to the channel. We got another recap, Married at First Sight Australia, episode 18. And boy, we got a doozy. We lost another couple in a shocking exit. This is also feedback week, so the parents get to chime in and deliver some definite brutal truths. So before we jump into this and unpack all of this, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash that like button and drop a comment down in the comment section below. So after an explosive commitment ceremony number 3, we lost Celine and Anthony. Thank goodness. Wish them the best. See you later. The couples now head into feedback week. So they get VIP passes, which mean coming face to face with their partner's friends and relatives who have already been given somewhat of an insight on what they have been doing. So the families and friends know both the good and the bad, and they definitely are not afraid to voice their thoughts. So without further ado, let's jump into this recap. So we saw this couple a little bit, both Cody and Selena, the morning after their crazy commitment ceremony, because Cody decided to say yes, even though Selena said no. But it was definitely awkward, and not just because Cody put milk in his green tea, but they're definitely trying to get back on track after a very, very hard week. And we did hear Cody tell her, I need to show you that I care. I guess he want a fresh start. But you know what? I'm still not sold on him and everything he says, especially being that he said he lacks empathy and that he's a cold person. So I don't know how he can turn this around. And some folks are thinking that maybe he's just trying to backpedal and clean up his image. I don't know. But we'll definitely have to see what happened with these two. Next. So we got this other couple, Kate and Matt, who have moved into their apartment for the first time. We see Matt is actually choking on a biscuit when Kate just meticulously is just unpacking her suitcase. It seems like there's no care in the world. She's just talking to the cameras, and this man is literally choking. I mean, she just totally is ignoring pretty much the fact that this man is probably seeing his life pass in front of his eyes. Her response, you're going to have to learn how to chew your food. I'm like, okay, you know what, girl? You ain't ready for this. Just go home. Just go home. This man is over here choking and you could care less. I'm sorry, that ain't even what you do with a friend. And remember at the commitment ceremony, she said that, I'm working on a friendship. At least your friends will help you from choking. Whatever, Kate. Let's move on. So then we got this other couple of one of the other 3 new couples is Jess and Daniel. They're checking in until there really aren't. I mean, after about a New York minute of entering their hotel room, we see Jess pulling him aside to deliver the news, like from day dot. Now, I don't know if that means day 1 as we see it, but from day dot, I felt extreme disconnected to you. It's like talking to a wall all the time. That's how I feel. And guess what? I'm leaving. This isn't working. I'm never going to fake it. I don't want to be with you. So that's when we see this girl grab her suitcase. It is still packed. She haven't even unpacked anything. So she knew right from the get-go, or shall I say day dot, that she was going to be out the door. I mean, that has to be the quickest move ever, in and out. Seriously. And then, Jess was like, the relationship wasn't it. It was never going to be it. And she said she came here for love. And if I don't have love, I don't need to be here. And at the same time, we see Daniel talking about he feel robbed of the right partner. And I'm like, after her first go round, the first groom was kicked out. Now the second, I know she's probably done, but she need to be done because her attitude, what we saw, it wasn't a good thing. So let her move on, find somebody else who matches well with her. But we got to talk a little bit later about Mr. Daniel and Miss Carolina. But we'll get there. Let's talk about Monika and Jack, though. So with Monika and Jack, they had a pretty up and down week as well last week, but she tried to score a little bit more brownie points this week with Jack. She set up this whole little picnic that definitely melts his heart, and I thought it was cute. And then she had him close his eyes, and his dog that was at the wedding, Finn, she surprised him with his dog and her dog, Millie, to join them. So, of course, we saw Jack so overwhelmed with tears. He was so happy. I mean, he even said, this means the absolute world to me. And I thought it was really sweet. I actually had a few tears in my eyes. Hopefully, Monika can focus on her own relationship instead of sticking her nose in others. This is what you're supposed to be focused on. But we'll get into that when it comes to Ella and Mitch. But they also get to face their families at the movies. Domenica's mom brings up that whole period sex conversation, a chat that Jack's mom, she just cannot have. It's definitely an awkward situation, but, it seems like the parents are happy with what they're seeing with the two of them. And, that particular conversation definitely seemed to have strengthened their bond. So, I mean, even though the expert and Domenica try to make it look like, oh my God, talking about periods and sex is normal, everybody don't want to talk about that and hear about it. So, yeah. But let's talk about this other couple, Ella and Mitch. So these two definitely had a very, very tense commitment ceremony when Ella revealed, or I should say pulled out of her, that she didn't feel that she was enough for Mitch, which, of course he felt blindsided. And we saw him say that he's going to take some time off of the relationship. But sleeping on it hasn't really kind of changed his thought process on that. Ella is continuing to say, I can't help but feel insecure if I'm gonna be enough for you. And then, she goes into pointing out her dating history, or I should say his dating history, about all the great and amazing women who still wasn't enough for him. And I'm like, please don't compare yourself to his past. And then Mitch comes back with how the commitment ceremonies are just not beneficial. He also talks about how he hates how the experts and the other participants were getting in their business. I don't want to talk to these other 18, and he called them D-heads, sitting on the couch around them. They're not entitled to that. They don't know crap. But he said the other word. So go somewhere and shut up. I mean, Mitch says the experimental is brutal. He says it's toxic. And then he admits that he just want to go home. And Ella was like, okay, so that's it? I mean, in this moment, I don't want to cry, but really? That's it? Mitch, he responds where we saw him get up. He again called the whole process toxic, ripped off his mic, and we saw him charging for the door. And I mean, he didn't even want the cameraman following out. He was like, dude, this is F the camera, and I'm trying to be PG here. But yeah, he was not feeling them filming here, him walk out. He called the whole thing stupid. And believe me, when you have a rant like that, yeah, the producers are going to eat all of that up. He said he's just done with the experiment, and Ella was like, okay, are you done with me too? And it made her really sad. I mean, honestly, and I got a few things to say about this before we talk about the whole thing with the parents. Because, I mean, even though he left, he did come back. And he wanted to give 48 hours to see how he feel before making a decision to stay or leave. Here's the thing. There's accountability on both sides of this. And of other people that's not in the room with them. First of all, they had a plan. They had their own plan on what they wanted to do outside of this experiment when everything was over. When they start talking about their plans and they seem all happy and bubbly, now we have these other three women who have their own relationship issues to tend with jump into changing their plan. And I know a lot of people in the comment section on the actual episode was calling Mitch all kinds of names under the sun. But just take a step back, pull the emotion out of it, and just look if you had made a plan with your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, significant other, and three people that had nothing to do with your relationship, don't know what your plans are, come in and chime in to try to change them by telling one of the partners that they shouldn't do what you guys had already planned to do. I wouldn't be happy with that either. I will tell you to mind your business. That's just me. However, it made it worse when the experts decided that they want to dig deep. Now, unless they saw something that we didn't see, that we didn't know, and they pulled it out of Ella, okay, fine. She admitted to it. Now, here's where the accountability comes in. So I already gave accountability to the expert and the three women that shouldn't have had anything to say about changing their plans after, because it's their marriage. However, Ella has some accountability because if she felt this way, she should have communicated that within these past several weeks with Mitch before they got to the commitment ceremony and said all that stuff in front of all these people and everything. So, of course, he feels blindsided, which she did take accountability for that in this episode, where she said, I made a mistake. I should have talked to him and let him know how I was feeling. Yes, you should. Communication is key. And at the same time, he wouldn't have felt blindsided. On the flip side, Mitch, I get it that you wasn't happy about these other people and all of this. However, you don't pick up and run. This girl still loves you. You obviously still love her because of what you said at the end of this whole thing. And I'll talk about that more in a minute after the after the movie, the VIP thing. But the thing is that the cursing and the expletives at the dinner party when you were talking to Ella, that's not appropriate. It's just not, And then also the getting up and leave. You don't leave. You sit down and talk this thing out. You're in a marriage. That's not what you do. So there's accountability on both sides. From the three women, Ella has some accountability, which she took. And then we also saw at the end of the whole VIP movie thing that he also took some accountability. So while we're talking about that, let's move on to that. So then things seemed to kind of get a little bit worse when the couple had to talk to the parents at the VIP movie event. Ella definitely has clear concerns how Mitch is going to react when they've been confronted, but she's not the only one. And it turns out how Ella's parents definitely have a lot to say about their blow up at that dinner party I just referred to. They said that Mitch seemed a little aggressive, and Ella's mom and Mitch's dad both agreed, because one of them said if somebody swore at me, I would find that aggressive. Now, despite strong words, which I have to listen, I try to take notice of everything. Mitch does listen and takes on board and in consideration of what Ella's parents have to say. And he appreciated getting that constructive criticism and feedback from her mom and her stepdad. He respected their opinions on things, and Ella appreciated the fact that he responded a lot better than she expected. He also said that even though, he called everybody idiots, which, if you don't like the other couples or the experts, you don't like them. Okay, fine. Once you leave this experiment, you don't have to be bothered with them. But you don't have to resort to name calling either. Okay, it's not that serious. I know you don't like the whole setup. You were skeptical in the beginning, but at this point, yes, were the women wrong for trying to jump in and change what you guys have already planned to do outside with your marriage? Of course, that's not their place. But I like the fact that amongst all of that, he did take in consideration what her parents had to say. Because listen, if in fact they do continue to keep their marriage intact or make it solid in the future, and like she's moving, according to her, he has to take that in consideration with soon to be in-laws. Those would be her mom, her mother-in-law and father-in-law. I mean, his mother and father-in-law. So the thing is that I'm glad he took that in consideration. He also mentioned that her mom and father knows her more than I even know. So I have to listen to them. So at least he gave credit where credit is due. Because if he was a real butthole, he wouldn't care what nobody had to say. And that includes her parents. So he did take that criticism. I'm glad he did. I like to give credit where credit is due. And she looked like Ella wasn't too happy about how they were being grilled either. But she did appreciate the fact that, Mitch did take that criticism to heart and is using it. And the fact that he said that out of this entire experiment, the only good thing that came out of this is Ella. So he really is still into that girl, which I was looking for those cues throughout that part of their conversation. So hopefully they can bounce back. If, they can get past all these cameras. What did you sign up for this? You knew that they're going to be filming you. You pissed off about the whole process. Okay, what did you want to do? Find the girl and leave? Okay, well, on the way of finding your love or the person that you really like, guess what? You got to pay the toll. The toll is to be on this show. So hopefully they'll get past this. I want these two to work out. I think they can work out. He has to take into consideration her feelings and all of that. And, vice versa. She got to communicate with him when she's feeling some kind of way. And they can work it out. I'm looking forward to seeing the work that they both are going to put in. So let's move on. Okay, so we did get to see Tamara and Brent as well in this episode. They came face to face with each other's parents and friends. Brent's parents are definitely quick to tell Tamara that they were definitely shocked by her language. And she was in shock at that moment. And I'm like, well, hey, what did you expect? Brent dad was like, it's just not on for me. You got to show some restraint and you got to show some respect. Ooh-wee. And then Brent did come, however, to her defense, telling, his parents that Tamara can be caring and she can also be considerate. And Tamara tells her dad that she is happy in the relationship and she's having a lot of fun. And that overall, it seemed like they're being very successful. So she was very pleased about the fact that Brent came to her defense because his parents were definitely lighting her up. But, Tamara was doing some interesting things, throughout this entire, situation or this experiment. So hopefully, we'll see where they go from this because they've been up and down throughout this thing. So let's talk about Daniel and Carolina. So Jess left him behind in this experiment. And, Daniel didn't like that he didn't find love that he was hoping for. And I know his niece was really rooting for him. But he's refusing to leave without kind of making a connection. We saw him, put microwave meals and stuff in his suitcase. And, he's packing up because he was like, yeah, okay, well, this ain't working out. But before he decides to leave, he did reach out to Carolina for a final goodbye and to see if there was some sort of spark. And he did find one. They pretty much was talking about how they wanted to toast to their broken marriages, although Carolina does tell Daniel she'll like to think that her marriage still have a chance. And I'm like, uh-oh. Carolina is all rattling off on this whole list of differences that she has with Dion, and notes that Daniel has a lot of traits that she asked the experts for. Now, it gets kind of awkward with these two, but then they're flirting. Daniel was talking about they got this chemistry and this spark is going really well. We did see Carolina leave, but Carolina did tell production that she thought Daniel was flirting with her, but she's in the experiment with a whole nother guy. And with that, Daniel and his suitcase full of and his meals, they leave the experiment. Now, I'm wondering if he's going to be coming back. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But I have a feeling that those two are probably going to connect sooner or later. But we'll have to stay tuned to see. So speaking of Carolina, let's talk about her and her husband, Dion. So when they did arrive to their apartment, we had this whole conversation we heard where Carolina is telling Dion that all the lingerie that she packed up is going to go to waste. And then they start talking about the fact that he packed 16 pair of shoes. That man got a lot of shoes and a lot of suitcases. But moving on, there was a letter at the door for Carolina and Dion, which is this whole photo ranking challenge, which I really don't like. But Dion is up first, and he thinks the spark is there. So he, of course, ranks Carolina first. However, Carolina thinks he lying. And yeah, she'll take it as a compliment, but after 2 tries of him trying to convince her that, no, I do have a spark with you, she continuously calls him a liar and saying that he is not being honest. I'm like, oh, girl, stop. Because you feeling some kind of way. So you want to make him look bad because you know what you're about to do. So now it's Carolina's turn. And she places Daniel second behind Brent, especially after having a little conversation with him and that little spark they created. However, as for her own husband, Dion, he takes spot number 7. Yep, third to last. And to make things even worse, she said, you know what, I'm a personality person. I like personality. That plays a lot with me. However, if I was to place you on personality, that wouldn't even be at the top as well. And that definitely was a real blow because even though she doesn't like him, he really hasn't treated her disrespectful. He's been really helpful. He's been bubbly. How is it that unless we're not seeing everything, she just pretty much threw his appearance and his personality under the bus? And all of that pretty much has to do with the fact that she just don't like him. She's not attracted to him, and she's attracted to somebody else. So, he's definitely shocked to see where she put Daniel, though. So that's definitely eye-opening. And we did get to see some previews because obviously he's going to find out a little bit more about this whole Daniel thing. And I'm here for it. But at the same time, I think it's kind of crazy how these people were matched up just for drama and not who particularly they should have been with. So I hope you enjoyed this recap. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.